After me and the Suicide Squad defeated Enchantress, I set the Suicide Squad free, and now they were living in my tower rent-free as my hired security, and they are also the Suicide Squad part-time, and I'm the trump card on the team. And then I called them all in a room and I said, guess what guys, all of you are getting a special shot today. And then Waylon tried to run and then I transformed and he said, boss wait, what's in that? And I said, nothing bad, nothing that will hurt you. Basically this serum turns you all into immortal super soldiers. I mean, just ask my girlfriend Harley Quinn. And she said, yes guys, let him give you the shot. And Waylon said, boss you're like me. And I said, yes Wayland, you could say that, and I heard you don't like to get shots. So I grabbed Wayland with my giant muscular black hand and he tried to struggle, and then I gave him a shot in his arm and he started crying and I said, quit crying, you will be fine. And I said, anyone else afraid of shots? And they all said no sir, and they all took the shot of my super soldier serum willingly. And then Deadshot said, damn, what the hell is in that shit? I feel better than ever. And I said, congratulations Deadshot, you pretty much drank from the fountain of youth with the biological enhancements. Let's just say that's immortality in a syringe. No matter what happens to you, you can all regenerate. It also restores you to your peak health conditions. And Slade Wilson said, boss let me get that shot. And I said, okay Slade. And then Slade got his shot and I said, we need to start training soon. And he said, we can start tomorrow. And I said, after we are done training Slade, I want you to recruit child orphans to become assassins in your crew. They are loyal to only you and me. You will call them the orphans. I don't want you to kidnap these kids. I want you to recruit and help them and give them a better life, a way out, train them like you will me. Be a good father figure. It might give you some practice in that area. And he said, whatever you gave me kid, it cleared my head up and I don't feel like I used to. I feel more emotional. I feel human. And I said, that's a good thing. You're just going to have to learn how to deal with it, old man. And he said, okay, so I will help you train first and I will teach you all my techniques. And then several months of training and running drills with my wives began. He taught us everything about his skills and fighting style. He taught me dim mak and he also taught the others as well, and I absorbed all the information like a sponge that never lost his memories. He knows boxing, jiu-jitsu, karate, ninjutsu and judo, but I really wanted him to teach me his mastery of weapons, and I was taught all of that, effectively transforming me into a god of war with weapons. And I said, you remind me of David Kane. And I asked Deathstroke, did you know him? And he said, yes I did know him, but he didn't train me. And I said, interesting, I wonder why he didn't. And you have great potential to be in the League of Shadows. And he said, I know you're their leader now. And I said, that's true, I killed Ra's al Ghul in front of his entire clan. Even David Kane saw it happen and he had no choice after everything, so he decided to join my clan. But yes, I'm their leader now. And then we finally finished our training after nearly a year, and then I finally went looking for Sandra Wu-san, and with my resources it wasn't hard to find her. And then that's when I decided to help her and talk to her at the same time. She's a beautiful Asian woman and she's gorgeous, just like her sister Carolyn, and her sister is still alive and well, thanks to me confronting David Kane about the situation before it escalated. So I pretended to be a nobody and slowly she began to talk to me about everything, and then a little bit every day I became her friend, and then eventually I became someone she could rely on because I was always there for her and her sister. I was just there when she needed me the most, and I even trained with her in martial arts and she taught me her style of martial arts. And I said, I don't suppose you know Richard Dragon, do you? And she said, I do, maybe I could talk to him about you. And I said, please do shake on it. And then she touched my hand and she blushed and I said, are you okay? And she said, I'm fine. And I said, I have been meaning to ask you, Sandra, can I take you out on a date? And she said, what? And then I would love to take you on a date and have a good time with you. And she said, okay. And then I said, you have a cell phone number or anything like that? And she said, yes, I'm sorry. And then she wrote down her number and she said, call me anytime you're ready. And I said, we could go on a date now if you want to. And then I drove up in my SUV and she got in and I took her to the nicest restaurant in town, and she said, Bruce, this place is expensive. And I said, yes it is, and that's why I brought you here. You see, I've been meaning to tell you everything about myself. I'm Bruce Wayne, Sandra Wu-san, and I want to date you.